Hello bookworms! Today I'm going to be sharing my September TBR with you. This is my September TBR take 2 because I just filmed what I felt like was a great intro, and then I pulled my first book from my pile to talk about and knocked the rest of the pile over, turning off the power strip where all my filming equipment is plugged into. So, take 2. Okay, so August was the best reading month that I've had in like a year and a half. It was like flawless. It was like the perfect reading month. I enjoyed everything that I picked up. I was so excited to read. I was so excited to tackle everything on my TBR. I was constantly choosing reading over doing other things, but I did also do a lot with family and friends, and I went away for a couple of days, so I also feel like it was just a very full month when it came to reading. It was a very fulfilling month when it came to working. I feel like I've been so crazy busy nonstop, like from the second that I get to work until the second that I leave. I don't have like a spare second. Like sometimes I don't even have time to drink water because I'm just so involved in everything. And then I've had a really great month with reading. So it's just been all around, I would say, a very good month, and I'm very thankful for it, and I'm really just like on a reading high, and I'm going to be following this wave for as long as I possibly can. It would be ideal if it could last like forever, which I know that it won't, but I am really hoping that I'll continue like with this momentum that I have right now because it just feels really good. So there are some books on my August TBR that I didn't end up getting to, so they are still priorities that I want to read within the next couple of months. However, September is Halloween season, it's spooky season, it's autumn, it's my favorite of all the seasons. I feel like I thrive when autumn comes around, and I'm just so excited for it. So I definitely tend to focus on some more atmospheric books, some books that have a little bit of like a spooky edge to them, and this year is going to be no exception. So September definitely has more of those kinds of vibes on my TBR. So let's go. I'm going to start with sharing the YA books that I'm planning on reading. So first, I'm definitely planning on reading Any Way the Wind Blows by Rainbow Rowell. I love this series, the Simon Snow series. We're following Simon and Baz. In the first book, they were at a magical school, which was really awesome. In the second book, they went to a Ren fair, which was even more awesome. And now this is the final book, the conclusion to the trilogy, and I'm so excited to dive into it and to revisit these characters. And it's actually kind of long. I feel like it's just going to be like amazing to read. I'm sad that it's the end, but I'm also excited to complete another series and excited to see Simon and Baz again. Next on my list is another series ender, and that is Send Me Their Souls by Sarah Wolfe. This is the third and final book in the trilogy. The first book was called Bring Me Their Hearts, and I really love this series. I think that it's a lot of fun, but I've been putting off this third book because there was a cover change, and I'm just so in love with the covers of books 1 and 2 that the third one I just don't like. Like, I really don't like the way that it looks. I really wish that it would have matched the other ones because it would have been like a forever series on my shelf. But I finally took the plunge. I did the thing, I bought it, I'm gonna read it. I'm very excited for the story, obviously. I think that the story is really good, but I am so disappointed about this cover. Next, I really want to read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. Random House recently sent me this first book, and I'm so excited to read it. I've heard nothing but great things about this series. It's a young adult thriller series. We're following a teenage girl named Pip who lives in the town Fairview, which just reminds me of Desperate Housewives. But so when she was younger, there was a murder that happened. There was a girl that was like super popular, and her boyfriend was found guilty of murdering her, but 5 years later can still see the way that this murder has affected her town, and she knew Sal, who was the person that was found guilty, and she just feels like he couldn't have done it. So for her senior project, she decides to do her own investigation of the case, and I wouldn't be surprised if she uncovers things that maybe weren't visible 5 years ago when the initial crime happened, and I can't wait to read it. I've heard excellent things about the series. It's actually a trilogy. The third book is either out or coming out like very soon. So I'm excited to check out this first one and then hopefully continue on. And then the last YA book on my TBR is Among the Beasts and Briars by Ashley Poston. I have been looking forward to this book since before it was announced. Ashley had told me about it at a book expo, and once she said Over the Garden Wall, I was like, say nothing else. I'm in. And there was like there's a little fox here, but the placeholder cover was a fox. and then we have a fox on the actual cover, so I just feel like this book was made for me, and it definitely has that like autumnal vibe. I didn't read it last year because of the epic reading slump of 2020, but I'm ready this year. So the font is raised, so I'm just like enjoying that texture. But I'm ready. I've been like saving this for September, and this one is very high priority for me. I can't wait. It's about two teens, and I believe that they're lost in the woods. Then I will share my adult reads. So first up, I want to read Arm of the Sphinx, which is the second book in the Senlin Ascends series. No, which is the second book in the Books of Babel series by Josiah Bancroft. Holly from Holly Hearts Books is hosting a Books of Babel read-along in celebration of the final book coming out in November, and she's reading one per month. So I've been trying to follow that. I have either completed or am very close to completing Senlin Ascends at the time that this video goes live. I've been really enjoying it so far, so I ended up picking up book 2 while I was in the middle of reading the first one because I know that I'm gonna want to read more in the series, and I'm going to try to follow along and read one book a month. And I'm pretty excited. This is a pretty interesting and unique series. Then I want to read Dead Lake by Darcy Coates. This follows a character who goes to a remote lakeside cabin that belongs to her uncle. She goes there because she really wants to focus on her art with no distractions at all. There are really like no neighbors nearby. There's no cell phone service, like nothing that's going to get in the way of her just like buckling down and creating things. Except there is something very unnatural that is lingering by the lake. So she first sees this man standing by the lake, and she tries to like brush it off and be like, this is totally fine, no worries here. But then there are like reports that start popping up of hikers going missing on this trail that is right by where she's staying. And then this man starts kind of doing some shady things like disabling her car, and she clearly is going to need to figure out a way out of this situation. It just sounds like a really fun horror read. I read one of Darcy Coates' books last year. I really loved it, and I want to read a ton more of them this Halloween season. And then lastly, for adult books, I have an either or. So I either want to read, spoiler alert, by Olivia Dade, or I want to read Anne of Manhattan by Brina Starler. Anne of Manhattan is a modern day retelling of Anne of Green Gables, except that Anne and Gilbert lived on Long Island, and Anne is going into Manhattan, which sounds so great. And then I almost said All the Feels, which is the second book coming out, and why I want to read this one before that one comes out. Spoiler alert, is a romance between a cosplayer and an actor in a popular show, and the cosplayer is like a body positivity cosplayer, and I've just heard such great things about it. And also Alexa gave it to me last Christmas, and I haven't read it yet, and I really, really want to. So these are my romance options for the month. If I could read both, great, but if I only read one, it'll be one of these. And now the last section of my TBR, I have quite a few spooky middle grade reads that I really want to get to. I'm so excited for all of these. Like, I've been saving some of them specifically for September, and they're middle grade, so I feel like I'm going to end up reading them really quickly, and that's why this TBR is a little bit bigger than some of my other ones in the past. So first I have Bridge of Souls by Victoria Schwab. This is the one that I've been saving the longest. It actually came out in March of this year, and it's been really hard to not read it until now. I've been waiting and waiting. I really like the series. It's the Cassidy Blake series. We're following a character who is the daughter of two parents who travel around to different haunted cities. They're kind of like Mythbusters or like Ghostbusters. They examine all of like the local legends about ghosts, and little do they know their daughter can actually see ghosts, and her best friend is a ghost. And it's just such an entertaining series, and I really like the travel aspect. This third one actually takes place in New Orleans, so I think it's going to be a really fun addition to the series. I also think it's the last book for now, but I do hope that Victoria will revisit the series and write more, but not if it comes at the expense of Threads of Power, because I'm so excited for those books. Then I want to read Dark Waters by Catherine Arden. This is the third book in the Small Spaces series. Each of these books are based on a season. So in this third book, we are in the spring season and it takes place near a lake. The first one was so good. It took place at like a farm with like a corn maze. And if you haven't read that book yet, I highly recommend doing so in September. It's the perfect season for it. That one's called Small Spaces. I really enjoyed it. Then I loved the second book, which took place in winter. That one was called Dead Voices, and that one had like some ghost stuff going on. And now this third one is Dark Waters. So in this one, the kids go out on Lake Champlain with their families, but they end up getting shipwrecked, and there is a character from the first two books that I believe will make an appearance in here as well. I'm really excited. These are really well written and they really remind me very much of Goosebumps from when I was a kid, except like really good. Then I want to read Eva Evergreen and the Cursed Witch. This is the second book and I believe the conclusion to the Eva Evergreen series by Julie Abe. I read the first book earlier this year and it was just delightful, and I'm so excited to read the second book. This is just so well written. It reminds me very much of Kiki's Delivery Service, but it is definitely like its own unique, distinct story. And I really, really love this little creature that looks like an Eevee. It's the best. It was just like so wholesome and heartwarming and amazing and witchy, and yeah, can't wait to read this one. Then speaking of Kiki's Delivery Service, I do also want to read Kiki's Delivery Service by Aiko Kadono. I think I might listen to it on audio, but I haven't really decided yet. I'm going to see how I feel when the time comes. Kiki's is one of my favorite Studio Ghibli films. I always like kind of flip-flop on whether Kiki's or Howl's is my favorite. Those are my top two for sure, but it depends on the day when you ask me. So yeah, I'm very, very much looking forward to reading this. This was out of print for so long. I remember trying to get it years ago and it was so expensive and I just like couldn't really find it anywhere. So I'm really excited that they have published a new version and I'm really excited to read it. And then lastly, I have Mine by Delilah S. Dawson. I've read some of her Star Wars books and I've really enjoyed them. This one follows a girl named Lily who moves to this new house in Florida with her parents, and they really wanted to have like a fresh start. This house that they've moved into is very like old and decrepit, and it turns out that there's actually a ghost living there, and it's the ghost of the little girl that lived there before Lily. And it just sounds like it's going to be like kind of spooky, and I'm kind of picturing like an old Victorian house. I'm really hoping that that's the description we're going to get. The cover and everything just really appealed to me. So those are all of the books that I have on my August TBR. I'm really looking forward to reading all of these. I'm really excited that Halloween season is here, and I'm really excited that autumn is upon us and there's cool weather coming, and it's just gonna be a great season. So that is everything that I'm planning on reading. Let me know what you're looking forward to reading in September, and let me know if you have any recommendations for some spooky books to check out for the season. And that's all that I have for this video, so I will see you guys soon in a new one. Bye!